The Maxim gun was the first recoil-operated machine gun, invented by Sir Hiram Stevens Maxim in 1883. It has been called the weapon most associated with British imperial conquest. Functionality. The mechanism of the Maxim gun employed one of the earliest recoil-operated firing systems in history. The idea is the energy from the recoil is used, in lieu of a locked bolt or a lever mechanism, to eject each spent cartridge and insert the next one. This made it vastly more efficient and less labor-intensive than previous rapid-firing guns, such as the Gatling, Gardner, or Nordenfeldt guns that relied on actual mechanical cranking, as well as decreasing the gas buildup in the barrel, allowing the gun to fire more bullets over an extended period of time without overheating the barrel. The Maxim gun design still required water cooling, however, which gave it additional points of failure and made it more difficult to operate and heavier per caliber, compared to most later heavy machine guns. Trials demonstrated the Maxim could fire 600 rounds per minute. Compared to modern machine guns, the Maxim was heavy, bulky, and awkward. Although a lone soldier could fire the weapon, it was usually operated by a team of men. Apart from the gunner, other crew were needed to speed reload, spot targets, and carry in ready ammunition and water. Several men were needed to move the heavy weapon and mounting. Production company, Maxim established the Maxim Gun Company with financing from Albert Vickers, son of steel entrepreneur Edward Vickers. A blue plaque on the factory where Maxim invented and produced the gun is to be found in Hatton Garden at the junction with Clerkenwell Road in London. Albert Vickers became the company's chairman, and it later joined hands with a Swedish competitor, Nordenfeldt, to become Maxim Nordenfeldt Guns and Ammunition Company. The Post Office Directory of Trades in London of 1895 lists its office at 32 Victoria Street SW on page 1579. Finally, the company was absorbed into the mother Vickers Company, leading first to the Maxim Vickers gun and then, after Vickers' redesign, the Vickers machine gun. History, development. Maxim's first patents related to the development of the Maxim were registered in June and July 1883. The first prototype was demonstrated to invited guests in October 1884. Using colonial warfare. A prototype of the Maxim gun was given by Hiram Maxim to the Amin Pasha Relief Expedition in 1886–1890, under the leadership of Henry Morton Stanley. More a publicity stunt than a serious military contribution, in view of the main financier of the expedition, William Mackinnon, merely exhibiting the gun was likely to prove a great peace preserver. And in fact the gun was used on several occasions, especially during the expedition's retreat from Central Africa, not because of its devastating effects, but as an effective means to scare off native attackers. The same prototype was brought back to Central Africa by Frederick Lugard, where it played an instrumental role in the establishment of a British protectorate over present-day Uganda, which is a strong testament to the sturdiness and reliability of the weapon and its prototype. The first unit in the world to receive the Maxim was the Singapore Volunteer Corps in 1889. This was a civilian volunteer defence unit on the then British island. The Maxim gun was first used by Britain's colonial forces in the 1893–1894 First Matabele War in Rhodesia. During the Battle of the Shangani, 700 soldiers fought off 3,000 warriors with just 4 Maxim guns. It played an important role in the swift European colonization of Africa in the late 19th century. The extreme lethality was employed to devastating effect against obsolete charging tactics, when native opponents could be lured into pitched battles in open terrain. As it was put by Hilaire Belloc, in the words of the figure Blood in his poem The Modern Traveller, "Whatever happens, we have got the Maxim gun, and they have not." However, the destructive power of the Maxim gun in colonial warfare has often been over-egged by popular myth. Modern historical accounts suggest that, while it was effective in pitched battle situations such as the Matabele War or the 1898 Battle of Omdurman, its significance owed much to the psychological impact the weapon had. A larger caliber version of the Maxim, firing a 1-pound shell, was built by Maxim Nordenfeldt. This was known in the Second Boer War as the pom-pom from its sound and was used on both sides. The Maxim gun was also used in the Anglo-Oro War of 1901–1902. Gradual adoption by European armies and navies. National and military authorities were reluctant to adopt the weapon, and Maxim's company initially had some trouble convincing European governments of the weapon's efficiency. Soldiers generally held a great mistrust of machine guns due to their tendency to jam. In the 1906 version of the book Small Wars, the author says of machine guns, the older forms are not suitable as a rule. They jammed at Ulandi, they jammed at Dog Ali, they jammed at Abu Klea and Tofrek, in some cases with unfortunate results. The Maxim was significantly more reliable than its contemporaries, however. A more practical problem was that, initially, its position was easily given away by the clouds of smoke the gun produced. The advent of smokeless powder helped to change this. The weapon was adopted by the British Army under the guidance of Sir Garnet Wilsley, who had been appointed Commander-in-Chief of the British Army in 1888. In October that year he placed an order of 120 rifle-caliber Maxims using the same .577/450 ammunition as the Martini-Henry rifles. Wolseley had previously led military excursions in Africa, and had a reputation for being a strong subscriber to military innovation and reform, which he demonstrated in Africa. There he used machine guns, explored other unconventional ideas, and founded an Egyptian camel corps. The gun's design was also purchased and used by several other European countries. Russo-Japanese War. In 1895 the Imperial Japanese Army purchased a number of Maxims but later decided to standardize on the Hotchkiss machine gun. The Imperial Russian Army likewise purchased 58 Maxim machine guns in 1899, and contacted with Vickers in 1902 to manufacture the design in Russia, although manufacturing did not start until 1910. During the Russo-Japanese War of 1904–1906, the Russian Army employed the Maxim in combat, and placed a rush order for another 450 units from overseas suppliers, which were mostly delivered to frontline troops before the end of the war. World War I. By World War I, many armies had moved on to improved machine guns. The British Vickers machine gun was an improved and redesigned Maxim, introduced in the British Army in 1912 and remaining in service until 1968. Production took place at Erith in Kent and some models were fitted to early biplanes also fabricated there. The German Army's Maschinengewehr 08 and the Russian Pulemyot Maxim were both more or less direct copies of the Maxim. It also saw use during the Russian Civil War which followed the revolution in 1917. A picture of the period depicts a Maxim gun mounted on a takanka, a horse-drawn carriage, along with a gunner, firing backwards at a pursuing White Army regiment. Anarchists attribute this mobile setup to Nestor Makhno. Some socialist realist propaganda art features Vladimir Lenin manning the gun himself, but it is very unlikely that he ever did so. American news: the American Army had shown interest in the Maxim machine gun since 1887. Model 1889 and Model 1900 Maxims were used for testing, which lasted for years but not continuously. The gun was finally adopted in 1904 as the Maxim machine gun, caliber .30, model of 1904 as the first rifle-caliber heavy machine gun for standard service in the U.S. Army. The first 50 guns and tripods were made by Vickers, Sons and Maxim in the UK chambered for .30-03. Colt's manufacturing company was selected to produce it domestically, but challenges with schematics and specifications delayed its introduction. By the time Colt began production in 1908, a total of 90 M1904s were made by Vickers. Colt made their machine guns for the new .30-06 caliber, and the ones made by Vickers were rechambered for the new round. A total of 287 M1904 Maxims were manufactured. The U.S. procured other machine guns after M1904 production ended, including the M1909 being a copyright T. Mercier copyright, the Colt Vickers M1905, and the Browning M1917. M1904 Maxims were issued to infantry companies and cavalry. Each company had 4 guns with associated tripods, ammunition, and 20 mules to transport the heavy guns. The M1904 was deployed in operations in the Philippines, Hawaii, Mexico, and Central and South America, but never saw much combat use. During World War I, it remained in the U.S. for training. Maxim gun variants and derivatives. Maxim 5-barrel machine gun, 5-barrel variant fed from overhead inserted magazines and later belt feed. Vickers machine gun. Earlier Maxims had been chambered for earlier British service cartridges, but the Vickers was produced for export, available in most of the different calibers and cartridges used by countries around the world, and including a large caliber as used on Royal Navy warships. The machine gun was 20 pounds lighter and had been tested by the Army in 1909. Maschinengewehr 01, made by Deutsche Waffen- und Munitionsfabriken, MG08, derivatives. Maschinengewehr Model 1911, made by Waffenfabrik Bern, Russian-Soviet Pulemyot Maxima PM 1910 and lighter variants Maxima Euro Tokarevan PV-1 machine gun, Chinese Type 24 heavy machine gun, Finnish Maxim M09/21 and M32/33, American M1904. The Maxim gun also popularized tripods and belt feed. Earlier machine guns were usually mounted on horse carriages like small artillery pieces and fed from a hopper. See also, QF 1-pounder pom-pom, Caldwell machine gun, Kjellman machine gun, M1917 Browning machine gun, Nordenfeldt gun, Perino model 1908, Fittipaldi machine gun, Hotchkiss machine gun, Streeter Permilchen Mle 1907, references. Further reading, Anon, Vickers, Sons and Maxim Limited, Their Works and Manufactures. London. It gives plates showing the mechanism of the Vickers Maxim gun and numerous plates showing the variety of mounts available at the end of the 19th century. It also includes numerous plates of the factories in which they were made. Corwell, Colonel C. E. Small Wars, a tactical textbook for Imperial soldiers. London, Greenhill Books. ISBN A1-85367-071-5. This is a reprint of the 1906 version. Chivers, C.J. The Gun. Simon & Schuster. ISBN A978-0-7432-7076-2. Ferguson, Niall. Empire. Penguin Books. ISBN A0-14-100754-0. Goldsmith, Dolph F. The Devil's Paintbrush. Sir Hiram Maxim's Gun. Collector-grade publications, Toronto. ISBN A0-88935-056-6. McCollum, Ian. Blood Brothers. Hiram and Hudson Maxim, Pioneers of Modern Warfare. London, Chatham Publishing. ISBN A1-86176-096-5. Ellis, John. The Social History of the Machine Gun. London, Pimlico. External links, Handbook of the Maxim Automatic Machine Gun, Caliber .30, Model of 1904, with pack outfits and accessories. U.S. War Department, July 1916, The Maxim Machine Gun Systems Blueprints by 1906.